This is Thieves Cant Capers, unlocking the systems behind the stories. Welcome back to Thieves Cant Capers. It is our deep dive into systems, mechanics, and the games behind the stories we share at the table. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
And this is the Draw Steel Job. We are continuing our exploration of Draw Steel classes. Today we're taking a look at the Fury, the Null, and the Shadow. If you want to hear about the Censor or the Conduit or the Elementalist, you need to go back an episode. If you want to hear more about Draw Steel basics, ancestries, backgrounds, all of that, you need to go even further back on the playlist.
Back it up.
So we've got to get the preamble out of the way once again. Just a reminder that we're not doing full-blown deep dives on every aspect of every class and subclass. These are broad overviews.
Very broad.
So that means a glance at what a Draw Steel hero of a certain class looks like at first level, some of those key abilities that might grow along with that character.
We're looking at it from a low orbit.
All right, so with that, you ready just to jump right in?
Let's go.
All right, we're jumping right in here. We'll start with the Fury. The Fury courses with the ferocity of the primordial chaos in their veins. They are mobile warriors, right? They like to get up close and personal with enemies, dishing out lots of damage. They leap around the battlefield. This is where the Fury really sings, right? We've mentioned that most of these Draw Steel classes have a touchstone to maybe a familiar D20 fantasy class. Does the Fury touch on any of those familiar classes?
Well, I think you look at it and immediately you think barbarian.
A little bit. Yeah, some of that rage element.
Oh, yeah.
So the Fury, if you choose to play one, you've got to choose your primordial aspect. This is your subclass. So you're going to choose from Berserker or Reaver or Storm White. These all sound cool on the surface. That choice is going to grant you a skill, lift, hide, or track, respectively. The quick build, which we've not really mentioned that Draw Steel does offer quick build guidance if you're just looking to get in and out quickly. They say just go with the Berserker. That's kind of maybe the standard. Any of these appeal to you?
Well, I just, looking at each one with the Berserker, you kind of get I like to smash things, and I like to smash things on people, and I like to smash people with things. So it's you kind of get that
smashed.
Yeah, there's some mobility involved. It's a lot of pushing and shoving. The Reaver's kind of similar. It's a little less mobility, but maybe a little little more focus on social aspects.
Okay.
And but a lot of combat, obviously. And then the Stormwright, or as I like to refer to it, the Furry Fury, is it's kind of interesting because it's a focus on being able to transform into an animal or an animal hybrid form, but it's also got this heavy emphasis on elements. So one of my favorite pictures in the whole book is in here, the Lightning Bear.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, take a look at that one because it's awesome. So yeah, the Stormwright's interesting because it seems different than a lot of other things. But yeah, they have a lot of that elemental control baked in along with the animal ferocity they're attacking with.
Sure. And again, here we get a look at how different these subclasses can make characters of the same class.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, let's talk heroic resource for the Fury. I mean, that heroic resource, again, this is the resource that any class has to call upon to fuel their most powerful abilities, and every class has its own type. What are we looking at with the Fury?
Well, with the Fury, it's ferocity. So
yeah, they couldn't just use Fury. You can't have Fury. Right?
Yeah, that's no good.
So ferocity.
Yeah, no rage.
I could see them going with ferocity versus rage to draw more of a distinction between themselves and the familiar D20 fantasy classes, right? So you're going to gain ferocity equal to your victories at the start of a combat encounter, and then 1d3 at the start of each of your turns moving forward in combat. And then you can also get 1 ferocity the first time each combat round that you take damage. How about a D3 ferocity the first time you become winded or are dying in an encounter? So anytime those conditions are applied, you become more ferocious. I like it.
Yeah, and that ferocity, as it grows, the effects continue to grow as well. Where you're gaining an edge on might test, you're pushing creature, you gain a surge, double edge on might test. So yeah, it just as you increase in level, you gain access to more and more of these things with the higher your ferocity level is.
Yeah, cumulative benefits in combat based on the amount that you've got. First level aspect features. Each primordial aspect, that subclass, grants you 2 initial features. Like the Berserker, for example, gets a kit and primordial strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so these differ based on your subclass.
Yeah, the primordial cunning is an interesting one. You're never surprised. So that's for the Reaver. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of their headspace.
So from first level on, you're never surprised.
Yeah.
As a Reaver. That's cool. That's cool. Aspect triggered actions. Again, each primordial aspect, it grants a unique triggered action. The Berserker, for example, lines of force.
Yeah, so with lines of force, this is, there's a target that we forced to move. This allows you to select a new target. And so you're the source of that movement. You can determine their destination, but you could use this on an ally, for example. And you can, additionally, the force movement distance gains a bonus equal to your might score. So, yeah, I mean, basically you have some battlefield control, right, essentially.
Baked in with your hard hits, you can control the field. So I like that. Yeah, you could use this to move an enemy to a disadvantageous position, or move an ally to an advantageous position, or move them out of combat if they need to, make a hasty retreat or something like that.
So you're just shoving everybody out of the way, but maybe you're doing it strategically.
Right,
yeah.
Right. You're the guy in the mosh pit. You're moshing with a heart of gold.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I never met that guy, I guess.
No. We met the counterparts many times. Let's see. Let's talk mighty leaps. You can't obtain lower than a tier 2 outcome. And remember, tier 2 outcomes, those are like the average power roll result. So you can't go lower than that on any might test made to jump. You do not skip leg day.
No, absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely not. You're like a little frog.
Your kit, you can use and gain the benefits of a kit. And again, I guess, we haven't gotten into kits yet in this game, so we're still a little fuzzy on how the kits work. But it looks like you get an additional one here. And then, of course, your abilities, your 1 signature ability, your 1/3 ferocity heroic ability, and your 1/5 ferocity heroic ability. Remember, it costs that heroic resource, that ferocity, to activate those abilities at a cost of 3 or 5, respectively.
Right. 2 standouts here. I really like Impaled, just because you're skewering your enemies, so you're essentially grabbing them while you're making an attack. They're having the grab status, but
yeah,
it's fun. And To the Death, which is a way for you to gain surges, but you're opening yourself up to an opportunity attack.
Okay, I think the Fury won't mind that at
No.
all.
Probably not.
Go ahead, take a swing.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that stands out to you in the Fury? Anything that gets you excited, or anything that maybe raises some questions?
I do like one other ability I didn't mention, and that's the one entitled "Your Entrails Are Your Extrails." I don't know how it plays out, but that's a lot of fun. So it's bleeding, essentially bleeding damage. But wow, I want to say that. Wait. I use your entrails or your extrails ability. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, again, these ability names are all flavorful.
It's as hard for them to fight when they're busy holding in their giblets. Wow. There's some great quotes in this book. If nothing else, buy it for the quotes.
Anything else on the Fury?
No, I think they look fun.
I would play a Fury.
I just reading it, it seemed like this would be a really good class for somebody who's new, not only to draw steel, but to tabletops in general. seems pretty straightforward.
The class concept is straightforward. Yeah. As far as actually how it plays out, we can't say for sure.
Right.
But conceptually speaking, you're a mighty warrior, embracing up close melee combat. This is something I feel like you could hand the new player.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears and let's talk about the Null. Nulls are described as disciplined, as calm. They are unarmed warriors. Okay, there's our touchstone, right?
Right.
They manifest an aura that quells the supernatural. It hinders the offensive prowess of their enemies. They use psionics to make their bodies stronger than steel, faster than any steed. In D20 fantasy terms, it sounds a little like a monk.
It's a monk, but there's also, there is that psionic aspect, which for some reason this game, psionics are scarier to me than they are in some other games.
I think they should be.
I think they should be too.
Right?
Yeah.
So your subclass here is your tradition. What is your Null tradition? The three that you get to choose from are chronokinetic, cryokinetic, or metakinetic. What are the differences here?
Well, chronokinetic, you're essentially focused on time manipulation,
okay,
as the name would imply. So,
which I've always liked the idea of that. If the mechanics can help you execute it, I think it's tricky to mess with time in a game.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
There's some interesting effects there. And the cryokinetic is focused on really cold attacks and damage. And then the metakinetic is really leaning into those psionic abilities. I know the recommended, the quick build is the chronokinetic.
Your choice of tradition is going to grant you a skill from the lore, crafting, or exploration skill group. As far as heroic resource for the Null goes, you're working with discipline. You can gain that equal to your victories at the start of a combat encounter, and then you get 2 discipline at the start of each of your turns in combat. So they're keeping you fueled up that way. You get 1 discipline the first time each combat round that an enemy in the area of your Null field ability uses a main action, or when the director uses an ability that costs malice. That's kind of the director's heroic resource that we haven't talked about yet.
So the Null field, this is where you want to keep your enemies, which is good because you're sort of a melee fighter, right? And so this is an aura that's coming around you. There's going to be effects within that Null field that impact your enemies and allies.
It can dampen like enemies' potencies.
Right.
Right. So like their resistances, you can lower those.
Yeah, and you have effects like you can hit an enemy and they're going to slide 2 squares. Basically, reality sort of shifts inside of that Null field. That's where you want people to be.
Yeah, just imagine a Fury on one side and a Null on the other, just bouncing that enemy back and forth like the 2 brothers on Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably how it would look, right? Keep you from shifting. When you are an ally using an ability against a target, the potency is increased. So really, for you, a lot of this is focused on maintaining that Null field and who's in it.
Inertial Shield is a triggered action that the Null gets that lets you take half damage from an incoming attack. Always nice.
Right.
And then you can spend 1 discipline to further reduce the potency of an effect associated with that damage that you take. That half damage, if there's another effect tied to it, well, you can dampen that down. Discipline Mastery. You gain benefits in combat based on the amount of discipline that you have. For example, the chronokinetic mastery that allows a free disengage when you use your inertial shield. So again, all of these different features, the interplay between them is quite prominent here with the Null, I think.
Yeah. These are all different, but the general idea is the same.
A big component of the Null's approach to that battlefield control, mobility, right? So Null speed comes into play here. You gain a bonus to speed and to the distance you can shift when using disengage, and that bonus is equal to your agility score. So that's pretty substantial, I think.
Right.
Let's talk psionic augmentation. You're going to choose one of 3 augmentations: density, force, or speed. And these enhance your physical form with bonuses to your stamina or stability, rolled damage or speed and disengaged distance. You can change that augmentation as part of a respite.
Yeah, and it really impacts what your approach is going to be. Is it just a matter of I need extra stamina, I want to be a little more tanky, I want to be able to do a little more damage, do I need speed and maneuverability? So it's just another way to...
Well, it's feeding into the tactics, right?
Right. You're customizing the whole experience.
Right.
Yeah.
If you know what the party is setting out to do, if you know what's coming, and or you think you know, then you can try to make the appropriate choice to be best prepared. Psionic martial arts. Again, this is an unarmed warrior, so martial arts are coming in big here, and they're blending it with the psionics. You use intuition instead of might for knockback or grab maneuvers. You're kind of reading your opponent more than simply overwhelming them with physical force.
Right. And you're going to start with an agility of 2 and an intuition of 2 for a null. So that just plays into your strengths.
Right. As we've previously mentioned, your class, your choice of class is going to determine those starting attributes, right?
Yep.
As far as abilities go, 2 signature abilities, and then your 1 for 3 discipline and your 1 for 5 discipline, the heroic abilities.
You can see a lot of potential in the null. I mean, they are, again, there's battlefield control all over the place. There's some pretty damaging abilities. They're fast.
These sound fun.
Every one of these classes sounds fun, to be honest. I think this would be a really enjoyable character to play, whichever one of the subclasses you chose.
Yeah, and kind of the iconic example of the null that Draw Steel provides, just in terms of artwork, the splash art that introduces the class. I love that they went with the Hakan ancestry as their representation of the null class. Yeah. Remember, these guys are 9 feet tall?
Yeah.
With stone skin. That's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to play that.
Yeah. That does sound fun. I noticed that it seems like there's a lot of debuffs baked into this one as well.
Yeah.
So whereas it seemed like the Fury had a lot of control, pushing, shoving, they have that, but there's just a lot of debuffs that seem to come with this class too. So if you enjoy that, making your enemies a little worse, I think you'll like it.
Our last class that we will take a look at in today's episode is the Shadow. Stalking from the darkness. The Shadow is an expert assassin, a thief who fights equally well in melee and at range as they get the drop on their foes. They utilize magic to help them stay mobile on the battlefield, and they thrive when they're sneaking up on their prey. You also possess more skills than any other hero. We've already talked about the number of skills that each hero is going to have, so the Shadow is exceptional in this regard. You're going to choose a Shadow College from the College of Black Ash, of Caustic Alchemy, or of the Harlequin Mask.
Obviously, the parallel here we would draw would be the rogue.
Sure.
Right? It seems to be like a rogue. But what I find interesting is, whereas in a lot of fantasy settings, the rogue is sort of played up as the urchin or the wretch.
Right.
It is very clear that the disciplines that the Shadows have is very much a learned ability. That's why they call it a college. So this isn't for the street thug. This is a very difficult path that they've chosen to acquire the skills that they have to be an assassin or whatever it is they're choosing. So I like that flavor.
The fact that they are all tapping into magic in some regard.
Yeah.
If we can make the jump, just for comparison's sake, to D&D, for example, it's been common for a while for a rogue subclass to have some component of magic to it, right? You've got the, what is it?
The Arcane Trickster.
The Arcane Trickster, thank you, in 5e. Whereas in Draw Steel, no, all of these have some level of magical ability.
And I love the abilities that they have. All 3 of these look like so much fun to me.
Well, then let's talk about that. Let's take a closer look at the subclasses. Any of these that you love?
Yeah, well, College of Black Ash, it's all about mobility, right? They're teleporting all over the place. A lot of abilities where I'm going to make an attack. Boom, I'm over here. Now I'm over here. So they're moving in the shadows. I love it. This is a fun type of roguish character to play.
Yeah, if you want to frustrate your enemies,
Yeah.
this one sings.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the College of Caustic Alchemy, do you like to make the boom booms? It's all about bombarding the enemy. So, yeah, if you enjoy making explosions that shoot acid all over the place,
yes,
this is the one for you. It sounds like a blast. And then the College of the Harlequin Mask, yeah, this is the subtle, like, illusion magic. This is the social manipulator. Every one of these, I just want to play all three.
Yeah, the College of the Harlequin Mask, this is the quietest, the stealthiest, sneakiest.
Yeah, it's just, I know there's one of their first level abilities where you basically can just make yourself look completely harmless. And the example they give is like a sheep. You can be a sheep,
Right. You can appear as a sheep.
Or a less harmless version of yourself. And so when you finally do make your attack, there's a bonus for that. But it just gives you an idea that, yeah, they are master manipulators.
What are we looking at in terms of heroic resource?
Well, for the Shadow, it's insight.
It looks like, again, as with all of these classes, you're going to gain it equal to your victories at the start of a combat encounter.
Right.
And then at the start of each turn in combat, 1d3. And you gain 1 the first time each combat round that you deal damage incorporating 1 or more surges.
Right.
And your heroic abilities cost 1 fewer insight if you have an edge or double edge on the power roll. How about the triggered action, hesitation is a weakness? I love that some of these actions, abilities, just by title, kind of tell you how you should approach this class. This is a free triggered action that allows you to take your turn immediately after another hero who just ended theirs. So remember, Draw Steel allows the players to decide who's going next.
Mm-hmm.
And then it bounces back to the director, right? It just kind of goes back and forth. There's that discussion, and players can always just kind of make that determination.
Right.
This lets you just kind of disrupt that order and immediately follow up one of your fellow heroes' turns, effectively skipping the director's activation round, right?
Well, you see an opportunity, activate this and take it, right?
Yeah.
It's just being an opportunist.
You get the benefits of a kit, of course. You get your skills, hide and sneak, plus 5 additional skills from the criminal underworld or exploration, interpersonal, or intrigue groups. So your choices are wide open there, and they are plenty. Again, you have more skills than any other class. And in terms of abilities, your 1 signature ability, your 1 3 insight heroic ability, and 1 5 insight heroic ability. As far as abilities go, which of these do you like, Chris?
It just depends. Like, are you wanting to augment the party, or are you wanting to augment yourself? Because a lot of these abilities are based off of the placement of your allies.
Sure. Tell me about augmenting your party, because whenever I think rogue, and this is not a rogue, but it's an analog, I usually think an individualist. So how can this interact more on a party level?
Well, you think about like an ability like gasping in pain, right? So you're going to launch an attack on an enemy, but it's essentially going to open them up so your allies can take advantage of, I guess, essentially the pain they're in, right? It opens them up. So an ally within 5 squares of the target is going to gain 1 surge. So, you're effectively buffing your ally by that attack. But in contrast, there's an ability, I work better alone, right? And so for that instance, again, you're going to make an attack, but the effect is if a target has none of your allies adjacent to them, you're going to gain a surge before taking the power roll. So it's really, it just depends on if you want to be a team player or you want to, I'll take care of this myself.
I have no friends.
Yeah, I'm your friend.
Thanks for that. Hey, thanks to everyone who has dropped us a line on YouTube or via email, thievescantcast@gmail.com, @thievescantcast on social. We've gotten some great positive feedback on this series. We didn't know what to expect when we kicked this off. We just wanted to explore Draw Steel in a little more depth at our own pace, at our own time. Thank you for bearing with us. We know we're not the fastest movers in the world.
Thanks for everybody that's listening. We really do appreciate it.
Very much so. So next week, we will wrap up our overview of the classes. We've got the 3 T's left to tackle here: the tactician, the talent, and the troubadour. In the meantime, catch up on those previous Thieves Cant Capers episodes. If you have not given our sister show a listen, Thieves Cant, our main show, it comes out every Saturday. You can find that wherever you listen to your podcasts. So we will see you Saturday for another episode of Thieves Cant. We'll see you next week for another episode of Thieves Cant Capers. Until then, I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
So long.